Like, we do see some targets that he's getting, and he's actually really good in the passing game. But whenever they have him in, they are literally bringing him in for a couple of plays and forcing the run with him. He actually is facing the third highest stack box rate among running backs. So that's basically telling defenses, when Jonathan Taylor's in, we are probably going to run it with him. So, of course, he's not going to be efficient.
What's up, Guff? Grown-up fantasy football has returned to the YouTube, to the podcast, and James is back.
I'm back. What was my issue again? Why was I out?
It was less of your issue and more your father's issue. Remember, James? He had a butt operation. He got a brand new butt.
Oh, yeah, the iron butt. His butt gave out, and doctor said if you want to live another 15, we're going to have to do the surgery. So,
Man.
It all worked out. We're all really happy. Everyone's feeling good now.
Good. That's what's important, as long as you have a functioning butt. Or your father, I guess.
The cement of the family.
He seals all the cracks of the family. But what we're doing today is something a little bit different on Grown Up Fantasy Football. We are delving into the ethereal question: what has happened to these fantasy players? We are going to be giving facts and stats, talking about their season up till now, what went wrong, what's still good, and the outlook moving forward for the rest of the season. We're going to start trying to do this as a series. Let us know in the comments what you think. If you like this kind of series, if you don't like this series, if you argue with us, that's fine too. But let us know. The Guff Gang feedback is paramount on this podcast and on this YouTube channel. But today, we are asking the question, what happened to Indianapolis Colts running back Jonathan Taylor?
All right, well, let's get started into the facts and stats. Joey, have you told our listeners yet to subscribe if they are watching this?
No.
Please, we need subscriptions. James is back, and his father had a successful operation, but we have no idea what could happen next. I was in a coma from losing a fantasy week. James's father had a surprise butt operation. Does something happen with Joey? I don't know. So we need subscriptions now to make sure nothing else happens. So please subscribe. If you like the content, definitely throw a subscription our way. So let's get into the facts and stats about Jonathan Taylor. He is currently the RB17 on the season. That's going to go down after this week, I think, just because he had such a poor week, and that is not reflecting his Week 10 performance. He has 113 carries on the season for 428 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, and he is averaging 3.8 yards a carry. He right now has actually 22 receptions on 23 targets, which is pretty cool. 203 receiving yards. He has 28 red zone touches on the season, which is top 15 among running backs, but he has only topped 100 rushing yards just once this season. So, fellas, looking at week 1, Marlon Mack going down, us thinking he was going to be the bell cow here in Indianapolis, to a very lackluster and pretty pitiful week 10 performance. Give us his season up till now. What do y'all think? What are your thoughts on the season up till now for Jonathan Taylor?
So he's had decent games when he's gotten a good amount of volume. But he was getting double digits for quite a while in fantasy points. Marlon Mack goes down, he steps in. But everything kind of crashed, I think, at the bye week. Right after the bye week, he significantly dropped off from where he was. He's currently sitting at a 45% snap share. not great for what we all thought he was going to be. I think there's a few things that contributed to his performance, and I think the main thing that I think, and this is moving into the what's wrong section, unless you guys have anything else to add up to his season until now.
Yeah, I think we all thought he was going to be a guaranteed RB1 when Marlon Mack went down, and it looked that way in those early weeks. We're seeing Wilkins get more touches. We're seeing Hines, when those game scripts are favorable, take a ton of points away from him. I was actually looking at Taylor as a buy low candidate before the trade deadline, and I still think he might be able to have a good second half of the season. But yeah, this is surprising.
Yeah, and Joey, kind of going with what you said, it really is crazy because the first few games we did see a bit of an increase in his usage, and then we saw a slight decrease. And he was actually averaging about 14 carries a game, which is good. You know, we would like that. And then the bye week hit, and after that, everything was just completely gone. I'm not sure what happened in that bye week, but the second half, we have really not seen what we have wanted to see. I know the Ravens game, actually, I know he only had a very low snap percentage, but it was promising because he had a 40% snap share in the first half of that game. And his fumble actually came in like the second quarter. But then once he lost that fumble, he literally only had one more carry that entire game. So it's almost like after the bye week, you know, they were going to utilize him a bit. Maybe the game script didn't fit that well with the Lions game. But then this Ravens game, it did look like they were going to try and utilize him a good bit more. And then he fumbled, and they just kind of dogged him, threw him on the bench. And it seems like he's almost been dealing with the repercussions of that since then. So I know his snap share has been going down recently, and they have been playing the hot hand a lot, but there are bits and pieces of, I see a lot wrong, but there are silver linings of, okay, that Ravens game, that's a tough game. And they started the game off as if they were going to kind of try and feature Jonathan Taylor, but then that fumble kind of happened. So let's move into that's season up till now. Like James was saying, there was a lot that happened wrong. You know, we were pretty high on him, but let's talk about what is wrong. What's going on right now with Jonathan Taylor? Do we think it's a Jonathan Taylor issue? Do we think it's a Colts issue? Do we think it's a coaching issue? What do y'all think?
I think it's a Nyheim Hines issue. And it doesn't have a whole lot. I mean, some of it, yes, may have to do with Jonathan Taylor, but I think a big thing is Nyheim Hines' presence. We've seen in the past Phillip Rivers utilize the pass-catching back in his offense with Austin Eckler. Even LT was able to catch passes out of the backfield. And that's not to say that Jonathan Taylor can't catch passes. Obviously, he's caught, 23 or 22 out of 23 targets?
Yeah.
Like, that's stupid efficient. But the Colts are using Nyheim Hines in that role. Hines has experience in that role. Jonathan Taylor's the rookie. I think that's part of the problem because his snap share is only 45%. And that means Nyheim Hines is coming in and taking those snaps from him. I think that's a factor. And then another thing is the efficiency. His yards per carry hasn't been as high as it was. So before the bye, here's Jonathan Taylor's yards per carry per game. 2.4, not great. 3.9, better. 4.5, a lot better. 4.0, still good. 4.8, even better. And he capped it off at 5 yards per carry right before the bye. Solid. Really solid for the guy that we wanted. After the bye, 2.0. 4.5, a comeback maybe. And 1.7. Utter garbage. So something has happened on that bye for Jonathan Taylor to lose snaps, and his efficiency has just gone down too.
Well, he has been battling injuries a little bit, so that could definitely play a factor. I'm not on the side that's a Jonathan Taylor issue. I think he's very talented. I think it's an opportunity issue, and the Colts just, if they're going to commit to him in a game, I think he'll get a lot of points. If they want to get every back involved, I think that's what we're going to see a lot of.
Yeah, why are, like, why do coaches like Frank Reich and other coaches like this have to say, oh, we want to deploy the hot hand? Like, we need more coaches to understand bigger. He's a big running back. Like, he's a good, decent running back. Am I breaking out?
No,
No.
I'm just laughing because they're winning football games, so obviously it's not a coaching issue.
Like it. It is working, but we see it with like people like Derrick Henry. Like, he's a big back. If you just give him like 10 carries a game, like, he might not have that great of a game. Same with Jonathan Taylor. Like, yeah, you can't expect him after 4 carries to have 50 yards, and if he doesn't have 50 yards on those 4 carries, then we're just not going to give him carries the rest of the game. Like, I would just love to see them feature him, but you're right, James. Like, it's working for them, so I don't know if they're going to. But at the same time, I do see a bit of an efficiency issue. Like, the Colts O-line isn't what it was last year, but there are holes that he is not hitting. If you watch some of the game film, there are blatant holes that are wide open that he is not hitting and bursting through that Nyheim Hines and even Jordan Wilkins are. So it is a little difficult.
Is this the Colts curse we're seeing on running backs?
I don't want to compare him to Trent Richardson. Please don't.
Alabama legend Trent Richardson, though. He was a terrific back.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he just could not see the hole.
Yeah. I love Jonathan Taylor's skill set and just his talent. And I do lean with James a lot on this because, yes, I think there are holes he misses, but I do think that they could feature him more. And I do think that they actually are doing a bad job play calling with him in. Like, we do see some targets that he's getting, and he's actually really good in the passing game. But whenever they have him in, they are literally bringing him in for a couple of plays and forcing the run with him. He actually is facing the 3rd highest stack box rate among running backs. So that's basically telling defenses, when Jonathan Taylor's in, we are probably going to run it with him. So, of course, he's not going to be efficient.
Yeah, I'd like to see some more creativity from Frank Reich in that area. But like we've just said, the talent is there. So why don't we talk about what's been good with Jonathan Taylor? Enough bashing. Let's raise him up a little bit. What's been good about Jonathan Taylor, James?
I think we kind of touched on it already. When he gets a workload, he's productive. He's good, and I think that can help him. I mean, the guy is fast. He's a big back, and he's got a good catching skill set too. I like everything about him, talent-wise. I think just opportunity needs to come.
Yeah. Yeah, he is a very talented back. I mean, I know that they are playing the hot hand right now in Indianapolis, but he is still on the 12th most run-heavy offense in the league. So regardless if you're deploying a running back by committee, if you're running that much, then it still does give you more opportunity than what some running backs might have. And I don't think the competition is that great around him. Like, yes, he's been outperformed by Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins the past couple weeks, but at least it's not like a Kareem Hunt that's competing with touches with him, like in Cleveland. Like, I don't see these as two like elite backs. So I think he still has just as good of a shot of winning this backfield. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, this year is a dud for him, but buy low in like Dynasty and stuff. I could still see, and we could talk about this moving forward. I could still see him having a fairly decent rest of the year, possibly. It just, a lot of stuff has to align for it, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Buy him low for a Dynasty? You have an RB1?
Yeah, I don't think we need to even say that. That should be common knowledge.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to bring up is he's still averaging 17.2 fantasy points per game, which is 22 among running backs. So that's about solid for where you drafted him, about the 4th, 5th round, knowing that Marlon Mack was still active.
I'm afraid for what some people traded for him, though. So when Mack got injured, I saw trades that were kind of crazy to get him. And at the time, it was very reasonable. But now looking at it, it's like, wow. Like, people were drafting or trading like first round, like an Austin Eckler, which he got injured and stuff. But like running backs like that to get Jonathan Taylor, because we were all assuming he was going to just be phenomenal. So that scares me, some of the trades that probably went down for him.
Some people probably gave up a Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, like you said. And
not good.
Regretting that.
Mostert probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
But hey, let's talk about his outlook moving forward. So coming up, he has probably the best slate of any running back that you could ask for in fantasy. He has Green Bay, Tennessee, Houston, Vegas, and Houston again. all of which are, I think, 24th or worse against fantasy running backs. Do we think Jonathan Taylor could turn it around against these running backs, or do we think the opportunity is still capping him?
I think if there were ever a time that he could turn it around, it's going to be with this schedule. Like, if you literally sign into any fantasy app, you will just see green on the rest of his schedule because it is just that favorable. But we do have to consider, like, he's going up against these other running backs who have done well against, like, not as easy of defenses. So we're looking at the schedule saying, oh, good, Jonathan Taylor will do better. That doesn't mean that the other running backs won't also do well, so it could still be this hot hand approach. Another thing that concerns me too is, like, even though moving forward, it's a great matchup, like great matchups all around. The Colts offensive line hasn't looked as good as it did last year. I know in Wisconsin, like, they have a phenomenal offensive line, seems like all the time. So Joey, like, is this something where you said it's the Colts curse? Is this like a Bama running backs curse type thing that we're seeing where it's just an elite line that goes up against all these, duds to where when they get to the NFL, they don't know how to find the holes?
Well, I mean, there's still 5 starting Alabama running backs.
Yeah, I think there's a big enough sample to disprove that theory.
But you are right, though. The Colts line is not the same as it once was, probably last year. So there was something else I was about to bring up. I can't remember it. But James, do you have anything on?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, he has such a favorable matchup that I think he's worth at least a flex play on any team that's rostering him. I mean, there's no way you have 3 running backs that are better than Jonathan Taylor in that matchup on your team. So I think you got to roll with them these weeks. Yeah,
I mean, you're right. Like, unless you have an even better matchup for a flex play, like, these are all very favorable matchups besides Pittsburgh to throw him in your flex. So, like, if you are struggling at the flex, like, you could do so much worse than Jonathan Taylor. Along with that, he is the goal line back. Like, I know Nyheim Hines is scoring and stuff, but, like, he is still featured at the goal line. Jacoby Brissett, vulture to touch goal line, run in for him. But at any given week, he could score a touchdown for you, even if he has, like, 8 carries on the game. So I do expect him to be more efficient with these games moving forward. Might get him some more carries, might get him some more involvement, and then there's that touchdown upside. So, yeah, I'd say flex.
So, question to kind of wrap all this up. With all this being said, yes or no, do we want Jonathan Taylor on our fantasy teams?
Yes, I do.
I do. I do, but I don't. It's this is tough. I honestly, I would start him probably against Green Bay, and then after that, like, bench him, see if he does okay against Tennessee, and then from there, it depending on how he does, like, might start him the other games, and might just be one of those things where, like, if he starts looking better, like, I might keep him on my bench, and if he starts looking better, might start to deploy him in that flex position. So I would say yes, just because at this point in the year, you can't get much better of a bench player than Jonathan Taylor. Now, yes, if he's your RB2, like, I don't want that. But if he's your flex player or just on your bench, like, that's okay with me.
Yeah. The thing to remember is Nyheim Hines is not going anywhere in this offense. So he is still limited in the passing game, I think. But I would love to have him on my team, too. I think, James, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's so many better flex plays, or so many worse flex plays you could have than Jonathan Taylor. But I think that's going to do it for what happened to Jonathan Taylor and what we think about him. Be sure to comment below what you think has happened to Jonathan Taylor, what you think of what we think of what Jonathan Taylor thinks of himself, and let us know who else we should be analyzing what happened to, what other players you think. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to grow up. And be sure to get GUFF.